On today's show, questions in net with the injury to Charlie Lindgren.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win or lose your first $5 bet. Visit fanduel.com to get started. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about questions in net for the Capitals as Charlie Lindgren is on the injured reserve. We know that Hunter Shepard got the call-up, but what is the long-term answer in net if Charlie Lindgren misses a substantial amount of time? I'll talk about that a little bit later. I will recap the games over the weekend as the Capitals took down the Predators with some highlights in the game, in particular talking about Ethen Frank. And then in the final segment, I'll talk about the game against the Habs and how the Capitals fell in OT. But just to get it going here, as you may notice, I am having an issue with my voice right now as there's a lot of bugs and viruses, those kind of things going around. So you'll just have to bear with me. I've had this issue in the past. Usually it takes a couple days to resolve itself, but bear with me as I have a lot to talk about in the world of the Capitals. But just to get it going here, talking about Charlie Lindgren in that injury that he sustained, and what does that mean for the Capitals going forward? If you are an everydayer of the show, you know I talk about that the Capitals have a luxury in the net-minding department, that there's a lot of teams around the NHL that don't really have one really great netminder. So for the Capitals to have a really good option in Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren, that's a good thing, of course. But it gets better as a Capitals fan, as we know that there is also Hunter Shepard and Clay Stevenson, the number 3 and 4 in the organization. And if I'm going to make some lemonade out of these lemons, I'm just going to say what a great opportunity to get potentially another look at Hunter Shepard. What do we know is that both Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren are in contract years, and that despite what we've heard from insiders like Elliot Friedman, I think that there is the distinct possibility that either LT or Chucky do not come back next season. Of course, it's easy to say that the front runner is Logan Thompson, but what are some of the things that we know? Is that he is not going to come cheap. Ultimately, I think worth it. What we've seen thus far from Logan Thompson has been stellar. So let's take a look at it and let's dive into a pressing issue surrounding the Capitals. So first, that's what we learned, is that the Capitals placed Charlie Lindgren on the IR after an unfortunate upper body injury. And what do we remember in that game is that Duhaime pushed into a Canadiens player who subsequently pushed into Charlie Lindgren. And at first, Charlie Lindgren said, nah, he pointed to the bench, I'm okay. But upon review, it looks like he hit his head against the goalpost. And I think that there was a concussion spotter that said, hey, we need to have a look at him. And that is when he got placed on the injured reserve. He exited the game early in the second period following that collision. And unfortunately, he is sidelined for at least a week. That puts his earliest return at January 18th, which is Saturday against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And, it's an unfortunate thing, of course, for Charlie Lindgren to get injured, but this is why, your team has to have a really great number 3 and number 4 option. And that is what the Capitals have in Hunter Shepard. Before the season started, I thought he was a front runner I thought it was going to be Charlie Lindgren. I thought it was going to be Hunter Shepard. But just based on some of the inconsistent play that we've seen from Charlie, it looks like it was a stroke of genius by former GM to sign someone and trade for a guy like LT. Now, in the meantime, the team has recalled Hunter Shepard. Of course, we know from the Bears, he was on a 2-game road trip with the Bears and was actually supposed to play in the game. But, well, the Capitals had other plans. This will be the third time the Caps have recalled Shepard up in the middle of a trip to Charlotte. So these kind of interesting coincidences, I guess you could say, well, that remains true here as well. And good thing, like I said, that the Capitals have someone like Hunter Shepard that is willing to step up. So, I've spoke about what kind of netminder he is, and I've said that, I think he could, carry the number 2 position for a team. And some people say, hey, Dan, well, he's played really good in the AHL. He's played in college. We don't know what kind of sustainability he would have in the NHL. Let's talk about the things that we know and how he's played for Hershey this year. Shepard has played 23 games with Hershey with a solid record of 15-7-1. He's got a goals against average of 2.68 and a save percentage of 898. Now, last season, he got a taste of the NHL with the Capitals appearing in 4 games and earning a record of 2-1-1. So how do I think this whole situation is going to shake out with Hunter Shepard? Well, I don't think that we will see him. If the plan is that Charlie Lindgren will be back on Saturday. Now, if he faces more time than that he's going to be missing, Charlie Lindgren, say, he's not progressing as well as we had thought, then I think that there's the possibility. But for right now, I think the wise thing to do, and I've kind of talked about this on the show anyway, is to go with the hot hand, and the hot hand is Logan Thompson. Let's see what LT has in the tank if he plays game after game after game. Those are the things that I think that we would like to take a look at. So, an interesting situation for the Capitals, and ultimately how they have to make the most of this situation. And I think, like I said, a really great opportunity for the Capitals to get a look at Logan Thompson and more extended a look at him. Now, so the corresponding move, of course, we know that Hunter Shepard got called up because there's Clay Stevenson, but you always need a backup in Hershey as well. That the Hershey Bears called up Garen Bjorklund from the Capitals East Coast affiliate, South Carolina Stingrays. Another player, another really great netminder of the future for the Capitals. Bjorklund was drafted in the 6th round in 2020, is yet to make his AHL debut, but has impressive stats with the Stingrays. In 11 games this season, he's racked up 6 wins, 3 losses, and 1 overtime loss. So another situation where you're making lemonades out of lemons, and that is a great opportunity for Garen Bjorklund to take a step up on the rung in the ladder in professional hockey and go from the ECHL up to the AHL, where it's that much more difficult. The players are that much better. Of course, I wish that Charlie Lindgren would be healthy. But what I like, given the fact that I'm a big fan of netminders in general, is to potentially get a look at Hunter Shepard, say if Charlie Lindgren misses a substantial amount of time, but also to get a look at a guy like Garen Bjorklund, and one click down from the NHL, the AHL, being that he was drafted in 2020. Let's see what he has in the tank. So excitement abounds. So we will get a good look at what I would expect to be Logan Thompson in the net again as the Caps prepare to take on the Anaheim Ducks and Ottawa Senators. After that, it's going to be all hands on deck. And we're ultimately eager to see how this goaltending situation plays out. Of course, that is my take on it, is that I think that It is going to be Logan Thompson playing against the Ducks and against the Senators. And then it remains to be seen if it was a concussion protocol thing, and that is kind of what we've been told. What they said is an upper body injury. They always like to keep it a bit vague. Then there's a pretty good chance that I think we see Chucky back on Saturday, or at least on the active roster against the Penguins. So, of course, I would like to see, a longer look at Hunter Shepard. But, like I've talked about on the show, we're at the point of the season where we can't be too experimental. I know, and I'll talk about later Ethen Frank and how well that's paid off for the Capitals. But I think just given the fact that the Capitals have a premier talent in Logan Thompson, I would not expect to see Hunter Shepard unless, like I say, Charlie Lindgren is missing a substantial amount of time. We don't have a back-to-back for some time, so there's no real necessity, in my opinion, to implement something like that. All right, so coming up here after the break, we'll talk about the Capitals over the Preds. And later in the show, I'll talk about how the Caps fell to the Habs, but a great feeling for the Caps to get back in the win column. Who really stood out and who really needs to step up? I'll discuss straight ahead. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Listen, your team, the Washington Commanders, they picked up a big win over the Bucks. How about putting a little bit of money on those games or any of the other games in the NFL? It makes it that much more exciting. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team. Every day you can find me over on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. So talking about the Capitals over the Predators. I think that I want to start with the good news first. And, well, that was the Capitals taking down the Predators. And it's, I know it was last weekend, and I know that this is coming out Monday evening. I do have issues with my voice, as you can notice, so I was unable to record yesterday. But a good time to recap that it was a split weekend, that the Capitals made it to OT against the Habs and lost. And the Capitals found a way to pick up a win over the Predators, who are not having the season that they're looking for under the guidance and general manager ship of former Capitals coach Barry Trotz, who is now the GM. And what really popped off the page for me, and I'll talk about this later, but I kind of want to give you a 30,000-foot view, is Ethen Frank. If you are an everydayer of the show, what did I say? That this would be a perfect opportunity to get a look at Ethen Frank, and it has paid off big time. He got an assist in his first game. He got a goal in his second game. That I think we're going to just see this game grow and grow and grow. We know there's been a lot of questions on that third line, right? So that we know that we've seen Hendrix Lapierre, that we've seen Vrana, we've seen Mirshnashenko, we've seen a lot of players cycle through on that third line. We know that we have Eller, we have Mangiapane. There's been different players. Originally to start the season, it was going to be Protas on the third line. But none of those players really stuck. Also, I forgot in that mix as well as Sonny Milano, who is slowly recovering, getting in some skates, but I think is still a ways out. I think that if Ethen Frank can really seize this moment, he can make this position his own. Listen, Jacob Vrana was a feel-good story, is a feel-good story. And at the end of the day, what are some of the things that we know is that injuries are waiting right around the corner. Inconsistent play is waiting right around the corner. And, some people pointed to the fact that why not call up Hendrix Lapierre? And to that, I have a couple things I got to say. We've already seen that. I've been to that movie. I've seen it, and there hasn't been enough time that's elapsed that I think his game has got that much better. Has played well with Hershey, to give credit where credit's due, but I still think he could work on his game a little bit more, getting some more time in. And number two, his head coach Spencer Carberry said that when he gets called up again, he would like to see him at the center position. That ultimately that is the long-term plan for Hendrix Lapierre is a center. We've seen him at wing, but when he gets called up, it's going to be for Eller, it's going to be for Strome, something of that nature. Nick Dowd. That is what the long-term plan is for Hendrix Lapierre's at the center position. So this was a perfect opportunity to get a look at a guy like Ethen Frank, who's got a need for speed. Necessarily didn't kill it in camp. Head coach Spencer Carberry told him the things that he needs to work on. He's worked on those, and so far, so good for Ethen Frank, and excitement abounds. So let's talk about that. The shining moment in that game as the Capitals took a big step forward with a convincing 4-1 win against the Predators. And, just to talk about the Predators here for a moment, it's talk about some of the best laid plans that go to waste. What did the Predators do in the offseason? They acquired Stamkos. They acquired Marchessault. How well has that paid off for them? But I'll talk about that in a bit. But like I say, Ethen Frank, what a moment. His hustle really shone through, especially on that breakaway during the third period. He's already made quite an impression. I'm already drinking the Ethen Frank Kool-Aid. You didn't need to convince me. With 2 points in his first two NHL games is a fantastic stat and a fantastic omen for a struggling third line, and a good omen for him. I think he put his foot in the door with Spencer Carberry. What are some of the things that we know? As Spencer Carberry is not in love with Milano's game. He's not in love with Verana's game. And Mirshnashenko kind of was in his doghouse to a certain extent as well. So this is an excellent opportunity for Ethen Frank to really endear himself to Spencer Carberry and, the players and the fans and all of that. So I'm very hyped about what Ethen Frank is bringing to this team. What is it we heard just too long ago? Not too long ago, is this team is old and slow. He definitely changes the narrative in the speed department. That is for sure. Alex Ovechkin is edging closer and closer and closer to catching the great one, Wayne Gretzky. He hit the 20-goal mark for the season, showing that he's still got it at 39 years old, even though he missed a substantial amount of time with that left fibula injury with Jack McBain versus the Utah Hockey Club. The fear that was out there that, this Cinderella story called Alex Ovechkin is going to come grinding to a halt. Not the case. There was a bit of a dip, and it's interesting how things can change on a dime. That all the writers were talking about before that game, that there's a slump. Alex Ovechkin is facing a slump. He's not going to be able to catch and pass. Silencing the critics by doing that, hitting the 20-goal mark. Not only that, but he also made a remarkable play toward the end of the game, blocking a shot and then scoring into an empty net for his 873rd career goal. Now that puts him just 22 goals away from passing Wayne Gretzky. So quite exciting there. And you take a look at it, an empty netter. And I know that is kind of the bane of Alex Ovechkin's existence, but it is what it is. They count. They're good goals, even though I hate that because, it's redundant. A great thing. So Tom Wilson is also really kicking it up here. His assist on Tom Wilson's goal helped him surpass Nicholas Lindstrom for the 12th all-time in power play points, hitting a total of 590. Talk about impressive. So assisting, getting it all done. The Capitals getting it done. Tom Wilson, Alex Ovechkin, killing it. But talking about Wilson's contributions in particular, he also found the back of the net, tying him with Ovechkin for the team lead, 19 goals. From the current captain to the future captain, it is a good thing to see Alex Ovechkin scoring goals. Of course, he is chasing down Gretzky, but also Wilson proving to everyone, doesn't need to prove anything to me or to the Capitals fans, that he's not a one-trick pony. He's not just a Rempe. He's not a Reeves. He knows how to score goals. Wilson's been a crucial part of the offense, scoring in 5 of the last 6 games. It's great to see him really stepping up. And he's faced quite a bit of adversity, taking that puck off the face was that Chikrin, and then having to wear the bubble, the aquarium on his face, just overcoming a lot of adversity, and just a tough guy, getting hit that puck off the face, and then coming back in and scoring goals after that. So I could sing the praises of Tom Wilson all day, but just one heck of a player and quite a great future captain of this team. But it wasn't all gravy. It's not all good news. Even in a game that was a win for the Capitals, it was great that the Capitals managed to score 2 goals even at even strength. We're still got some concerns about 5-on-5 play. And ultimately, that is, and I'll talk about in the last segment towards the end of the show, what we will expect against the Anaheim Ducks. We only managed 16 shots on goal compared to Nashville's 33. So some opportunistic play by the Capitals, making the most of their opportunity. So that's definitely an area that we need to focus on improving as the season progresses. I talk about it all the time, that special teams really comes into focus the further we get into the season. Games that where you don't make good on the power play or you let in a goal on the PK can change the outcome of your team. So, talking about strong defensive efforts on the defensive side, Logan Thompson, well, he was phenomenal, stopping 31 of 32 shots for just an incredible game. A big shout out to players to players like Martin Faravari and Matt Roy for their help in blocking 27 shots. That's the kind of defensive effort that's crucial in the team's overall success. Logan Thompson, huge, stopping 31 of 32. But if you air your netminder out to dry, they can only do so much. So talking about Marty, talking about Matt Roy, crucial in helping alleviate some of the pressure off Logan Thompson was definitely huge. But Mangiapane, another feel-good story of this season, who became the 8th Capital this season to reach double-digit goals. It's encouraging to see contributions from multiple players, not a one-trick pony. We talk about that all the time, that years ago it was Ovechkin, it was Oshie, but not a lot else, or you know what I mean? There was like 3 or 4 players, but you take a look at the Capitals now and they're scoring up and down. It's on the forwards, it's on the blue line, it's everywhere. There was a bit of a dip here and we're still kind of in a lull. I'm talking 5-on-5. We're not where we were earlier in the season. But I don't want to bang the negative drum every episode either, that they picked up a win. There were good things. We know they need to work 5-on-5, but Mangiapane, these different players that, reaching double digits, Tom Wilson, Alex Ovechkin, that despite some lull, I guess I'm going to say, in the play, the Capitals are in a really good position. All right, so coming up here after the break, I will talk about the Caps versus the Habs. It was a game that did not go in the Capitals' favor. What did we learn from that game? I'll discuss next. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or you're paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. And that happened to me. I went to Rocket Money and they said, "Hey, Dan, you're paying 2 times for a streaming service. Why are you doing that? Do you need 2 streaming services from the same company?" I said, "No." And thank you, Rocket Money, for helping me save money. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. One more time, rocketmoney.com/locked on. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The best way that you can help grow this show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. All right, once again, welcome back in and thank you for sticking around as my voice is not where it should be, but excited to talk about Capitals hockey. A lot of news surrounding this team, but let's talk about the Caps falling to the Habs. And the thing of it is you're going to lose games here and there and ultimately falling in OT. It's never a good thing, but it is a Canadiens team under the tutelage of Martin St. Louis that's playing pretty well. But there's been some lean years, some lean seasons for that organization. So let's do that. Let's talk about standout performers. Let's talk about things that need to work out. Lars Eller, Jacob Chychrun really made an impact in a good way. Chychrun, who's been on fire lately. It's been some gaffes defensively, but it's going to happen. This isn't AI. This isn't robots. These are real human beings, and they do make mistakes, but, all things considered, Chychrun has been playing very well. Opened the scoring with his 11th goal of the season. Don't call him just a defender. He can score goals offensively. That is one of the things that we like about him. That's what I like about defenders that have a two-way aspect to their game. Like Matt Roy, as well, more of a stay-at-home defenseman, but all things considered, Chychrun has been huge, taking advantage of that turnover during a power play. Now, he ranks third in defenseman scoring this season, 21 points in his last 22 games. Again, sign him up to a long-term deal. And that game in particular marked Ethen Frank's debut, something that I talked about on the show. And if you listen to the show on a daily basis, I've talked about it, banging the drum. Let's see Ethen Frank. Verana's not working. LaPierre's not working. Sonny Milano's not working. Ethen Frank's like, what do I got to do to show you guys that I'm ready for my opportunity? You got your kid opportunity, and you made the most of it. He assisted on Eller's goal to tie it up, marking his first career NHL point. A great moment, and he was smiling from ear to ear. You could not pry that smile off his face if you wanted to, and good on him. A really feel-good story, and I feel very happy for him. Like I talked about earlier in the show, I expect him to take on a bigger role if he can sustain this great play. I think he can, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I've seen that in Verana, that they, showed glimpses of greatness. Let's not take it down a negative tributary. Ethen Frank has been great. What we've seen on the ice has been great. Let's hope he can keep it going. But a bit of a roller coaster. It took a really, kind of wild ride. Charlie Lindgren went down with that injury. Logan Thompson stepped in, but faced a brutal onslaught from the Canadiens. Logan Thompson, who was cold, had to warm up a little bit on the ice, kind of like in the bullpen. Had a tough go of it, but ultimately I don't think he was planning on going in the game. And I think that, I'm not a goalie, but I think that it's a mindset thing, that you're going from cold and expecting not to play. I mean, you got a baseball hat on, you're kind of just enjoying it, and then all of a sudden, like, no, we need you in the ice. Like, whoa. That I think there was a little bit of rust there. And I think, just to be honest here, the Canadiens, they were peppering him with a lot of shots, and well, some of them found twine, and ultimately why the Canadiens were victorious. Cole Caulfield tied the game, and let's not forget Rasmus Sandin's turnover. That was an ugly turnover in that game. And that's what they did really well in that game, is they exposed the Capitals, and there were some absolutely grotesque turnovers in that game. And one of those was from Rasmus Sandin that gave Josh Anderson a shorthanded breakaway goal. Oh, I bet you he is trying to remove that from his memory. And in that game, PP struggles despite having several power play chances. In that same game, the Caps could not capitalize, which has been a reoccurring theme surrounding this team. And I talk about positivity because, well, I want to. You know, I know a lot of people want to just jump right into the negativity pool and just wallow in it like, oh my God, this team sucks. There's things that they need to work on. They need to work on the power play. They need to work on the shootout. They need to work on 5-on-5 scoring. I get all that. But those are the things that I think Spencer Carberry is actively working on fixing it up here. So those were the games this weekend. What is next? Well, the Capitals prepare to take on the Anaheim Ducks, and a bit of a change, something that I thought would happen in the beginning of the season is that at practice, Pierre-Luc Dubois is on the first line and Dylan Strome is on the second line, at least to start. I know things get shook up here, but I think it's a worthwhile look. And Pierre-Luc Dubois has definitely helped that second line, playing with Connor McMichael and Tom Wilson. Let's see it's definitely worth a look, is what I'm going to go ahead and say. That PLD is a guy that has a bit of a chip on his shoulder to kind of just point his finger at everyone in the NHL and say, you were wrong, and you were wrong. And ultimately, I'm happy. I'm happy for Pierre-Luc Dubois. A feel-good story. Let's see if he can help elevate that first line. Let's see if there is any chemistry with Alex Ovechkin. I think it's definitely worth a look there. So excitement abounds and some different looks. I expect LT, like I said, to be in the game. They know Hunter Shepard's a good option. So unless Logan Thompson is ill or pulled something, I would expect him to get the start. But let's hope that the Capitals can continue to play some great hockey. Let's hope they can kick in that 5-on-5 scoring and work on some of those special teams issues. So now, just to come before I end the show here, talking about it, the Capitals 61 points. That's still the most points in the Eastern Conference. And, well, the most notable part, first place in the Metro. And they tie. Actually, they are tied. It's a three-way tie as I record this. The Capitals, the Jets, and the Golden Knights, all with 61 points. That's even despite some of the struggles that we have seen there. This Capitals team is still playing some truly great hockey. Before I go here, my thoughts go out to Craig Locker, who mentioned that he has to have a heart procedure done. Some of my fondest memories of my early Capitals fandom are listening to Joby and Locker. And Locker has a certain cadence. He has a really great hockey mind. And, I'm hoping for a speedy recovery. He's saying that he wants to be back with the team by the playoffs. And, I have brushed shoulders with him or walked by him a couple times and said hi to him. Seems to be a truly great guy. We wish him nothing but the best. They don't have, a crew like that in too many different places around the NHL. Talk to some of your friends that follow different teams around the league. I don't think that a lot of them are as pleased as we are with Joby and Locker. And for Locker to be out of that mix is really unfortunate. Alan May is going to be stepping in at least for part of the time here. And another great hockey mind, knows the Capitals, knows hockey very well. So it's good that they have someone like Alan May to step in, a guy that knows the organization so well and just has such a really great hockey mind in general. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.